Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. This is your host, Matt Brown. It is already Friday, the last podcast of the week. I feel like I was literally just saying this the other day. I mean, I guess it was only a week ago, but wow, I can't. This is 2 weeks of this podcast already going into this weekend. And the progress we have made has been absolutely amazing. I'm about to hit 40 subscribers. We've gained a good bit of subscribers this week. A lot of views on my YouTube shorts, people commenting under my posts, getting likes. It has been great. My TikTok, we've gained a lot of followers on there. Instagram Reels have been doing great. Everything is just improving. That's what you love to see is improvement. And that's absolutely what we're doing on this channel. And again, thank you so much to all of you coming out and supporting me. In my first couple weeks of the podcast, again, I upload every single day. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the videos. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion and takes on mine. Again, I love debates on this channel. I've had a lot of people are starting to comment on my TikToks, which I do like because, again, I love debates. So if you have anything you'd like to say at all in the comments, whether you disagree with everything I say, go ahead and leave it down below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's get into the video today. So we're going to start off with the Terry McLaurin requesting a trade. This is something I honestly didn't see coming. I knew where there's smoke, there's fire with this whole situation. Last week, I did a little bit on the Terry McLaurin thing. I was talking about, the Steelers, the Patriots, they're interested, but I didn't actually think it would get to this point, to be honest with you. I thought, okay, the Commanders are going to pay the man. I mean, and he rightly deserves it. He's been a very productive player on some awful teams. And like I said last week, he was a major part of Gene Daniels' amazing rookie year. On any other team, if Terry McLaurin has been playing on Kansas City or just even a decent team over the majority of his career, because there's only been 1 year he's been with Washington where they've been decent. 2020 doesn't count. They still weren't good, even though they made the playoffs. The NFC East was just so bad. He's been extremely productive with an awful Washington organization for most of his career. If he was on a good team, Terry McLaurin I'd have comparisons with him to like a Mike Evans kind of player at this point. Consistent 1,000-yard receiver. He doesn't necessarily have that breakout 1,700-yard season like a Jamar Chase, but 1,200, 1,300-yard seasons consistently, that 1,000-yard range. Obviously he's not as big and tall as a Mike Evans, but he's consistent like Mike Evans is. He could have that kind of career right now. And he kind of is, to be honest with you, but he hasn't been able to live it to its full extent with Washington so far because they've just been so bad. And he's stuck through all of that. And he's been a major part of Jaden Daniels' growth. And you're not going to pay him. Or you're fighting tooth and nail with paying him right now. Supposedly Washington offered to pay him $30 million, but he wants $35 million. Just give him the extra $5 million. I mean, Josh Harris, you guys are this new ownership group. You guys have a new stadium coming. You just have a new era of Washington football coming. You finally have a franchise quarterback. Your team, you guys went out and did some splash moves this offseason. You have a good team. But don't be cheap. Don't be cheap, especially to one of your most loyal players who could have left years ago if he wanted to be honest with you, and no one would have blamed him. Why aren't you just pay him? Pay him. I know people are like, well, he doesn't deserve, like Jerry Rice money, Justin Jefferson money, and I get that. But at the same time, they don't have a replacement for him. And he's 30 years old, but he's a consistent guy. He is. He just goes out there, and you know what he does? He'll put up those 1,000-yard plus seasons for you. And he's just a great target to have. You know how many teams would kill to have Terry McLaurin on their team? The New England Patriots, my team. You don't think they'd kill to have him? Even though they upgraded their receiving room a little bit, they got Stephon Diggs. They trade Stephon Diggs for McLaurin in a millisecond if they offered it. And honestly, I've kind of seen some rumors on some of the Patriots fan pages and stuff. There is rumors that Diggs they're going to be a Diggs and McLaurin trade, and their second round pick Jalen Polk they had last year. That, oh gosh, I don't know. Some people were still high on that guy, but if you know, you know. Anyway, there's a lot of rumors with teams. If there's any team I could see him going to, it's just Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is always in the run for trading with teams. They just are. They have some magic hacks. They want another receiver really badly. They made some desperation trades and moves. So, again, I could see them just giving up the farm for Terry McLaurin. If he were to get traded, I still don't think he is. I think it's more of just, I'm requesting a trade because I'm serious. Give me my money. Like that kind of thing. And I get it to a certain extent. Just pay him. Get the whole thing over with and just pay him already. I can't see him in another jersey this season, to be honest with you. I just can't. Again, if there were to be that situation, I'd say it'd be Pittsburgh, New England. Trying to maybe think of some other teams. Kansas City's always a possibility. You always hear their name in trade talks, but I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know if they'd want to trade with them. Obviously not anyone in the NFC East. Yeah, I don't know, because I really just don't think it's gonna happen. Although it's kind of strange, I seen a thing where he could get traded for Chris Godwin, even though Chris Godwin just signed. Again, I think that's just kind of some rumor you hear. I mean, it really just sounds like it, I think that's like a near a 0% chance at happening. But yeah, they need to get him back. That tandem of him and Debo, I think, is going to be extremely good. While Debo's not 2021 Debo anymore, he's a good player. He's a guy you have to game plan around still. He's a guy, defenses, you still have to make a game plan for him, because they're not just going to eat you alive. He's not what he was 4 years ago, where he literally put like the 49ers on his back. But nah, he's still a good player. He had good games last year. People get on him for being fat and stuff like that. Like, I've seen the pictures and all. He's a really good player. I think he's a Swiss Army knife kind of player. He can be your running back. He's just someone you always have to watch out for on the field. He mixes up the defense. He takes pressure off of Terry McLaurin. That's why you need him there, because now you're going to put all the pressure on Deebo Samuel, and it's going to make him look a lot worse, because he's not going to be that guy anymore that can really maneuver around having all the pressure. So that takes a lot on guys like Deebo. Jaden Daniels' development still going into his sophomore year. People talk about him with a sophomore slump like a CJ Stroud. I think if maybe Terry McLaurin goes, maybe we could see a Jaden Daniels a sophomore slump. I mean, I think his numbers would take a hit. That's his number one guy. That's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Yeah, it's tough. That'd be tough for that whole offense, losing a guy like that. That's your number one guy on that offense, in the receiving room at least. And they don't have the personnel to make that up. Unless they go out and trade. If they trade him and get someone legitimate back, then it's like, okay. I'm trying to think of a guy, maybe if they were to trade with the Chiefs, I don't know if they would with Rashee Rice, maybe. I think the Chiefs would, especially with all the legal stuff with Rashee Rice, but at least you're getting a return out of it. Like when he played, he was a legitimate receiver. So it's funny enough, because I've seen another trade with the 49ers, maybe McLaurin and Ayuk, even though Ayuk's injured. I don't know why they never do that. But, again, even like with New England, if they were to trade him for Stephon Diggs, you're still getting, while Stephon Diggs isn't necessarily what he was 4 years ago still, he's a legitimate receiver still. He's a guy you have to watch out for. You have to get some sort of return if you're going to trade Terry McLaurin. You can't just trade him for a bag of jelly beans and a 5th-round pick. You can't do that. Washington is going to riot around you. They are. Especially when you have the new stadium, you have all that coming, you have everything going right for your organization finally, and now you have this looming over you. Just get the deal done with, or else it's going to be bleak in Washington. That's all I got to say. Next topic, I'm going to go over the over-under win totals of the AFC. I was maybe debating doing Monday the AFC and the NFC win totals, but I'm going to do the rest of the NFC win totals on Monday on my podcast, so make sure to tune in for that if you like that stuff. So yeah, we're going to do the entirety of the AFC East. Let's do the win totals, or excuse me, well, we are doing the AFC East, but for the AFC, we're going to start off with the AFC East. So we're going to start off with the Bills. They have an 11.5 win total. I'm going to take the over. I think the Bills are going to be a 12 or 13 win team. Again, they have a really good roster. Josh Allen is smack dab in his prime. They're just winning games. They are. That's what they do. That's what the Bills are doing right now. As much as it kills me to say, the Bills are in one of the best states the organization has been in a very long time, since they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Now they just got to get to one. And I think they're obviously a playoff team. As long as Allen's healthy, they're going to at least be a 12-win team. So I'm definitely taking the over on the Bills, especially with the Jets and Dolphins in the division. Not my Patriots, because they're competitive now. But yeah, definitely over 11.5 for the Bills. Patriots, dude. I was watching Danny Parkins a couple days ago, or was it? I think it was yesterday. He was doing the over/under win total on the Patriots. He took the under on 8.5 for New England. He took the under. Has he seen the New England Patriots schedule? Bro, there's no way you take the under on the 8.5. You know, I could take it if he said, I'll take the over, but I only have him going 9-8. I take it. I really would. Now, I have New England finishing with 12 wins. Their schedule sucks, and they have a legitimate coach now. My nose is itching. They have a legitimate schedule now. There's no way that team finishes under 8.5 wins. I put my life on the line saying no way. It's crazy. I can't believe anyone would take the under on New England for 8.5, especially with the roster improvements. May going to take a leap this year. It's just why training camp, he went like 2 straight days without missing a pass, just torching. Yeah, Patriots is that's my easiest over of the entire year. Speaking of which, I just want to say real quick, I'm going to start doing bet slips on this channel. Before the season starts, I'm going to do, a guarantee, or I'm not going to use the word guarantee, but, my best chance bet slip for you guys, the ones I'm going to do. And then I'm also going to do, if you're feeling risky, this is still your best chance at like an 8 or 9 leg parlay, 10 leg parlay, whatever. You're feeling risky, go with this. This is your best chance you got. So I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do those probably every Friday before the week starts, before my podcast. So stay tuned for that coming into the NFL season. Let's move on with the Jets. They have a 5.5 win total. I took the under. I was tempted to take the over. I could see them finishing with 6. I had them maybe finishing with 6 wins, but I have them finishing with 5. They have bits and pieces on that roster, but there's a lot of question marks. No one knows if Aaron Glenn can really coach. I think he can, but we'll see. The Jets just don't have much going on. I don't trust Justin Fields at all. He's very inconsistent. He went 3-0 or 3-1 with the Steelers last year, whatever it was. They don't have the Steelers roster. They just don't. Sauce Gardner took a massive step back last year. Yeah, I don't know. I have the Jets finishing with 5 wins. I think they're going to be. I think they want a quarterback too, to be honest with you. Justin Fields is just a filler guy right now. They want to draft another quarterback. The Zach Wilson thing was a disaster. They drafted Jordan Travis a couple years ago. That he had to retire this year. So there was talks about him maybe starting getting a chance, because he may have been a first-round pick if he didn't get hurt at Florida State. So yeah, Jets at 5 wins. I'm taking the under. Dolphins 7.5 win total. Taking the under. That team's gonna collapse by week 4, 5. Mike McDaniel will be gone by probably somewhere throughout the season. Tyreek Hill will be gone. The defense isn't very good. That offensive line's worrisome. They don't have that explosive offense anymore. They just don't. I like Achan, but to be honest with you, they just don't have much going for them right now. There's too much going into the season for the Dolphins. There's too much noise for something good to happen. There just is. With good teams, you don't hear a bunch of these negatives going into the season. You know what people nitpick, but these are massive things. When you're talking about your head coach, your quarterback, your defense, your offensive line as a whole, your number one receiver, when you have all these question marks looming for your team, it's those are major question marks. So you're not nitpicking at that point. Those are major positions that are an issue for your team. I have them collapsing. I think they'll be competing for the number one overall pick. They really do. The AFC North, the Ravens, again, people are taking the under on the Ravens at 11.5. I think you're just out of your mind. Lamar Jackson plays the whole season. They're going to finish with 13 or 14 wins. I think that's an easy over. The Ravens at 11.5. I have them finishing 13-4. Because they always just seem to choke 3 easy games a year. They can never just go 15-2. Yeah, that's just an obvious one. Their roster's too talented. They have way too good of a quarterback to finish under 11 wins. And a really good roster. The Bengals, I took the over on the 9.5. Them signing Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson coming to camp just boost them to 10-7 for me. Again, we don't know if Shamar Stewart can play, but he's at least going to be a little bit of a difference maker on that defensive line. Trey Hendrickson's obviously a difference maker. He's your best pass rusher. Again, I think they're going to finish 10-7. They could finish 9-8. I don't have the Bengals being as good as people say they are. Their team all around isn't good enough. It's just not. It's not good enough to compete with some of these other teams, especially in their division. The Steelers, 8.5. I took the over. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. And, them re-signing TJ Watt, their defense is really good. Their offense has holes. There's no doubt about that. Aaron Rodgers, who knows? He's had such a weird training camp. He looks good, and then he throws boneheaded throws. Who cares, though, honestly? Like, who cares? Aaron Rodgers probably doesn't even care being out there at training camp. He has no competition at starting quarterback. He's going to start, and he's just out there having fun. And was he 41 years old? He doesn't care. He doesn't. I have them finishing 9-8, though. I do. It'll be the Steelers, finish 9-8 or 10-7, maybe make the playoffs. Browns, I have the under on 5.5. They're going to suck. They are. I think Joe Flacco, will be good for a couple games. It's kind of like the Colts last year when they benched Anthony Richardson for him. He looked good, and then he turned into being an old immobile quarterback, and they ended up putting Anthony Richardson back in. Joe Flacco didn't end up coming back in. That'll be the Browns. People will be calling for Shador. They may end up putting him in, or they'll say, well, you know what? No, Dylan Gabriel looked better, or whether I don't even know what they're doing with Kenny Pickett. Are they going to hold all those quarterbacks? And they say, no, Pickett, we're putting in Pickett. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. You have guys. Myles Garrett is torturing himself in Cleveland. He did it to himself, though, because he could have left. And then, although the money he got, I don't necessarily blame him, but no chance. No, I don't think there's a chance they finish over 5.5 wins. I don't. Their team is not good. AFC South, the Texans, again, a lot of people had under on the 9.5. That division stinks. And a team I'm going to talk about here in a second, they had the over on for some reason. The Texans are a good team in a really bad division. Their defense, D'Amico Ryans coaches a hard team. He's like a young Mike Tomlin to me. I'm not talking about, the just finishing with 10 wins. He went these winning playoff games. Mike Tomlin doesn't have a ring. I'm just saying, though, in terms of just being a good coach, a culture-changing coach, always coaches a hard-hitting defense, a good defense. That's him. That's D'Amico Ryans. That team's... I had them finishing only 10-7. I think they could finish 11-6 because their just division sucks. But yeah, I'm taking the over on that. The Colts, people have the over on 7.5. The Colts stink. they have good players, but again, they have no idea what's going on with quarterback. Anthony Richardson, I just have no faith in at all. I really don't. Just why he's not an NFL quarterback. He could be like a Swiss Army. He could be, honestly, I could see him as like a Taysom Hill kind of player. To be honest with you, I think they should try and transitioning him to that. He goes out and plays tight end. They got him for QB sneak plays. He'd be an amazing Swiss Army knife kind of player. He's an amazing athlete. He's not a good quarterback. I mean, watch him play quarterback compared to guys, even Jalen Hurts is a good example. They're similar kind of players, in terms of they rather run kind of style. And they're big, they're strong legs. They move guys. Cam Newton-ish, to be honest with you. He plays nothing like that. Cam Newton wasn't necessarily the best thrower of the football, but he could play quarterback, and he was a good thrower though, especially in his prime. Anthony Richardson just looks lost throwing the football. He looks lost. He can't throw the football at all. He throws it in there. He has no touch. He throws it in there 100 miles an hour. Then it gets intercepted, but feels like every other 3 passes. So no, absolutely not. And then the Jaguars, I have the over on the 7.5. I think they'll be good. I think Liam Cohen's a good coach. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. I think he'll be good. He's not going to be great. But I had them finishing 8-9, maybe 9-8. But definitely the over on the 7.5. Travis Hunter, I think he's going to be a good player. They have bits and pieces. Brian Thomas, their pass rush is pretty good. Trayvon Walker's actually stepping up. So, yeah, I could definitely see the Jaguars. I had them over 7.5. The Titans, I have the under on 5.5. Again, people are taking the over on the 5.5. The organization knows their team isn't good. They know it. They said it in a press conference last week. They know it. The team, even Cam Ward came out the other day and said, you know what, no, this offense just has not been good. Like, and it starts at the top, and you just got to watch the video. Easily under 5.5. I think they're going to be like 3-14, competing again for the number 1 overall pick, which is what they need. The organization wants that. They don't want to be good. They don't. Then we're going to finish off here with the AFC West. The Chiefs, I'm taking the over 11.5. I have them finishing about 12-5, 13-4. They're not going to be 15-2 again. They were like historically good in 1-score games. That is almost near impossible to replicate that. Like it is. It is. Especially their division, we can all agree, is just better than what it was last year. I think the Broncos have taken that next step. The Chargers, always going to be good. Especially the Chiefs and the Chargers always have good games. Chiefs have their number, though. Ain't no doubt about that. But, yeah, I had the Chiefs around 12, 13 wins. Again, I don't think they go 15-2 again, but I have them winning the division as well. The Chargers, I'm taking the over on the 9.5. I have them at 10-7 on the year. Maybe 11-6. We'll see. The offense is just... Again, it scares me a little bit. Played that preseason game last night. Man, Trey Lance looked good last night. Good for him. Especially for Chargers fans. At least you have Justin Herbert goes down. At least maybe there's some hope back there. The Broncos easily over 9.5, or maybe not easily. Let me not say easily, but I have the over on 9.5. They're 10-7, 11-6ish. Chargers and Broncos are going to be competing for that second spot in the division for sure. They're both really good. And the Raiders, 6.5. I had the under. I kind of wanted to take the over and have them finishing 7-10. That's like my max for them, like maxed out. They're a good team, but I just had them finishing 6-11, like right there. If you wanted to take the over, I wouldn't complain at all on that. To be honest with you, I can see why, but I just some I don't know. It's just a little question marks. I don't really know what's going on. Geno Smith, I think he's got a little bit of an overrated reputation over the last couple of years. He's been solid, but I don't know. And then Now for my last topic, I just want to quickly go over the Orioles last night. Man, did they sell the farm. Now their draft makes a lot more sense. They got rid of a lot of the positions that they drafted. I don't think they're going to keep Adley Rutschman at all, to be honest with you, especially with their farm system with their catchers. They drafted 2 catchers this year. One of their top prospects, I think their top prospect is a catcher, and Rutschman's been inconsistent for sure. I think especially them showing that now. They're not afraid to get rid of anybody. Now, obviously, they shouldn't get rid of Gunnar Henderson or just certain guys. I wasn't really surprised they got rid of Cedric Mullins last night, but Baltimore fans, Orioles fans, he stuck around. Kind of like the Terry McLaurin thing I talked about earlier. He stuck around for the hardest times. I mean, he was on some of the worst teams in MLB history, and he was a light in a big thing of darkness right there. Cedric Mullins was. He brought happiness on a team that was just terrible to watch. Thank you, Cedric, for everything you did for the Orioles. Sucks seeing you go, but I get it with the Orioles. His expiring contract. They're just in a weird space right now. Hopefully, with this, they did get some guys back. I just hope the Orioles aren't rebuilding like a full rebuild, because they just rebuilt their team. I don't know. It's a lot of mixed feelings about the Orioles are doing. If it all pans out, man, it's going to look good. But if it crashes, it's going to be a disaster for the Baltimore Orioles. It is. Yeah, I think the ownership group's going to have to get run out of town across the country somewhere. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of that traded Ryan O'Hearn. Again, we'll see. Time will tell with this trade. Obviously, I think they want to give guys in their farm system a chance. Like I said last week too, their season they weren't going to make the playoffs even with their guys. They've been playing really good over the last week or so, but they're not. It's too little, too late for this team, to be honest with you. The Orioles, I think what they're doing is going to pay off in the future, but now it sucks seeing those guys go. I wish maybe shed a tear again seeing Cedric Mullins go, but they traded Charlie Morton, who was actually playing pretty good. I do like what they were doing, getting rid of some of those guys on expiring contracts. Again, Mullins, an expiring contract, they probably weren't going to pay him anyway. The Charlie Morton, you might as well get some value for a guy who's in his 40s and on expiring contract who you knew you weren't going to resign next year. That stuff to me doesn't bother me. You're getting value out of someone you probably wouldn't have kept anyway. Which obviously they wouldn't have kept because they ended up getting rid of them this year anyway. They seen that. They knew it. And respectfully so, they did the right thing instead of keeping them this year, maybe holding hopes that they might sneak into the playoffs. You're getting value out of it. So, I do agree with what they're doing to a certain extent. So, yeah, time will tell for this Orioles team, man. It will. And that is it for this podcast today. Just under a half an hour. I might get to a half an hour by the time I do my outro. So, but again, thank you guys so much for all the support my first couple weeks of this so far. This has been great. This has been so much fun. Just genuinely. I have fun getting up and doing this. It's a blast. It is. And having you guys on here watching, hearing you guys in the comments, your guys' takes on my takes, I love it. I don't care if you guys roast me, whatever, call me, insult me. It genuinely doesn't matter to me. I like hearing your guys' takes. But yeah, that is it for the podcast this week. Again, if there's any crazy news, I'll upload something over the weekend, but I can't imagine. Maybe if Terry McLaurin does get traded this weekend, I'll probably make a YouTube short or a quick 10-minute video on here, stuff like that. So, but unless something like that happens, I will see you guys on Monday. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.